T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
Thanks, Lugs. I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Here we go. NFL playoff time. Couple of things. The Bears will have the number one pick in the draft. That hasn't happened since 1947. So far, 2 coaches have been fired on Black Monday. Cliff Kingsbury, less than 1 year after inking a long-term contract. And Lovie Smith, friend of the show, gets canned after just 1 year of pretty good mop-up duty in Houston. But let's get started with the big story. Have we seen the last of Aaron Rodgers? Lugs, take it away.
Oh, no. This man does not know when to get off the stage. They'll have to bring out the big hook. I got to give it to Detroit, though. Those boys, if we had 3 more games in the season, they'd be playoff bound, I would think. And even Jared Goff, whom I've poo-pooed in recent history, you know what? He showed up, and they just did what they had to do. Very cold night. Dan Campbell, at one point, I could have sworn if he'd have put a couple of antlers on him, he could have been Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I thought his nose was going to break off, didn't you? It was so red. I thought it was going to be...
It was wild.
Yep.
But as far as Aaron Rodgers, to answer your question, now he's going to be around, and he'll have to stay in Green Bay. There's nobody going to buy him out there. So he's stuck there. I don't know about Jordan Love and what happens, but Aaron Rodgers is holding them hostage. He's not done anything in 3 years when you look at it realistically, and he's had every advantage, really.
But the Packers basically self-destructed, did they not?
Yeah, I'll break the game down by list. There were 4 key mistakes by the Packers in this game. First, early in the game, they were already up 3-0 against the Lions. On their own 32 on 4th down, they went for it. They got stuffed. Lions tied it up. Why you're that aggressive in a game that, you know, even early on felt like points were going to come at a premium? I don't know. Then they were up 9-3, close to the end of the second quarter. Aaron Jones loses a fumble in field goal range. The Lions were able to move down the field and kick a field goal. They have it 9-6 at half. And then when they were ahead 16-13, DeAndre Swift was injured on a catch. When medical staff came out, Quay Walker pushed one of the medical staffs, got ejected, and obviously moved them right goal to go, and they scored a touchdown on that. And then at the very end of the game, Rodgers got too aggressive with like 3 minutes to go. It felt very odd. Threw an interception to Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph actually had another one called back because of a pretty weak hands of the face, to be honest with you. It was weird. It's really weird that Aaron Rodgers was, talking existentially before this game. Because if you really look at these 3 games, or the 2 games before this that allowed them to be in position to win and you're in, the offense was okay. It was never great. It was particularly the Minnesota game. The defense and the special teams really came through. And then at Miami, it was Tua getting concussed and throwing 3 picks. Because by the way that game was going before that concussion, it looked like Miami's going to win this. So any Packers fans that feels bad, you shouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. So, and
I think Rodgers is just too old, and I've joked about his Hiawatha tea and all of that, but I think he's lost his edge. I really do.
And kind of going back to what Lug says, the thing that's infuriating is I think at the end of the day, like, he's smart enough, he's not walking away. But for him to milk that moment with Randall Cobb,
crazy.
I mean, to be fair, it's maybe Randall Cobb's last time playing at Lambeau, so that part I understand from maybe an emotional standpoint. But him acting like he's not going to come back, it's like you're giving up a lot of money, and particularly for a guy who being mowed essentially the last 2 years for the contract he got before this season, he's not walking away from that money. and they're not going to move him.
Well, and one point I want to make is those two guys were walking down the tunnel. Don't know if you saw the very end of the game, and the camera is backpedaling and in Rodgers' face. Okay, all of us have carried a camera on our shoulder. He tells the guy with the camera, "Get behind me, get out of my face," and the guy does it. Now, Lugs, I know what you would do.
Oh yeah,
You'd hang with that.
I'd jam it right up in his face.
So I agree. That moment was weird. He was arrogant even then.
Because again, it takes the smoke. Again, it's redirecting on like, is this the last of them? Instead of focusing on, you know what, he really didn't play well in that game. For a game, because again, these last two games where his playoff game against the 49ers, again, defense played well in that game. It was special teams and the offense that didn't do anything. Similarly, in this game, offense didn't do a whole lot. And the defense, for the most part, you look at it, Lions only scored 20 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good for a defense. Give credit to Green Bay's defense, at least on this. It's like they held them to 20. So, this is 2 years in a row.
He's lost
and
to
actually
Garoppolo last year and Brady 2 years ago, if you remember, in COVID with nobody in the stands, all the games at Lambeau too.
Yeah. So
I don't get Quay Walker, right, pushing that medical guy and automatic ejection. They know that going in. And then Rasul Douglas, did you see that play where he kicks the ball away from the center? Can you even explain what was he trying to do? I don't even understand it.
No, there is none. It's just like I don't know. You've had enough and you're just crazed out or something. I have no clue.
The Quay Walker, you said like they should know it. Well, particularly Quay Walker, because Sunday Night Football game against Buffalo, he was ejected from that game as well. So he has the distinction of being one of the rare players to get ejected twice in a year. So,
and then you got to give it to the Lions on that trick play where they, what was that? Like a flea flicker sort of thing, which I've never seen in a while. And then
hook and ladder.
Hook and ladder roll.
Yeah, that goes back to Frank Gifford in the 50s or something. I mean, that's crazy.
And then the fourth down short pass, that was obviously like their two-point conversion play, which was money on, what were they, 4th and inches, and that was the end of the game, right? 4th and a yard or something like that.
And I think they particularly went after the guy who replaced Quay Walker, like, go back up, who's not used to, playing reps. And again, his statistics aren't overwhelming. He had 3 catches, I believe, for 12 yards. But you want to talk about how much they believe in this guy. DJ Shark had the 2 catches on the 4th down conversions for the Lions. So,
but for me, watch out for the Lions next year. That was a playoff game for them in their minds. And I think, wow, they're coming on strong. They look good. They got a lot of good elements there. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. I think that they're going to have a shot at Rodgers again. So that'll be fun to watch because they embarrassed him. He embarrassed himself, but they did it to him.
My last thing on it is Jamal Williams had a great game. He had 72 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, broke Barry Sanders' record, had a great post-game interview where he talked about his great-grandfather, who's tight to how he did it for him. And then very quickly he snapped it around and told him, like, just because I'm crying doesn't mean I'm like, don't mistake me for not being a dog. He's like, don't you ever doubt the Lions again. So it was great. And also, you want to talk about like the character of a guy. If you notice during that interview, Aaron Jones, who you used to play with for 4 years with Green Bay, he came up and embraced him. And then in the background, his other running back teammate, DeAndre Swift, came behind him. Yep. So that just talks to, like, obviously how beloved he is in the fraternity of the NFL. So
Dan Campbell and all his craziness may have found a formula here that may work going forward. All right, Week 18, other highlights. Where do you want to go? Go,
All right. The unfortunate reason why the Lions are not in the postseason, not that I dislike this team at all, but because it also is a great story. The reemergence of Geno after not being a starter since, I believe, 2014, a long-term starter. He didn't have his greatest game, but 2 plays just kind of show you what he brings to him. His touchdown pass at the Lockett, it was 36-yard touchdown pass. It was picture perfect. I mean, it was a laser. He threw him in stride over top of him, and it tied up the score 13-13. And then he had a 25-yard rush that really kind of like helped put them in a position to win late in the game. And also like Jamal Williams, if you watch his emotional interview afterwards with Laura Oakman, who did a fantastic job capturing that moment, it was just really kind of powerful to see like a guy who obviously went through so much and like to come out the other end. Just, you know, it sucks because there were some calls, even though I was happy the Seahawks won, they got some really weird calls where Lions fans, I think, said, even when we're not in a game, we're getting screwed. So, but I'll let Lugs talk about one of his highlights on week 18.
Well, honestly, if we want to talk that Seattle game, when it comes time for playoffs, I don't have a whole lot of faith in those boys. I mean, Geno, okay, one stellar pass, but hell, Zach Wilson had a couple of stellar passes, and he's on a bus back to wherever it was, Brigham Young or something. So,
well, in that game, Geno, again, you want to talk about insult to injury for Russell Wilson. Obviously he doesn't make the playoffs. This team that traded away, got all these assets for him, they're making the playoffs. Another cherry on top for Seahawks against Russell Wilson. I believe in like quarterback ratings and statistics for the year, Geno had the best year by a Seattle Seahawks quarterback. So just another kind of little knife into Russell Wilson.
One more, Seattle. Just one more, right?
Yeah, just one more.
But, do you think Russell knows? It'll probably hit him like 2 months from now. He's kind of like the guy when you tell him a joke, he walks away and 5 minutes later comes back laughing his ass off.
A little slight delay there.
I'm just saying Russell is out of touch. So you can write him off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks for participating.
I think my only other really kind of big highlights, I guess, from week 18, I'll let Lugs. Titans Jags, obviously that was a win in your end game as well for the AFC South. I just want to give a shout out because he was snatched from a practice squad. He played week 17 against Dallas, but even though Joshua Dobbs actually, I thought, played really well. And obviously Trevor Lawrence, he looks like he's on the way to being a franchise quarterback and stuff. I think Josh Dobbs actually played better than Trevor Lawrence in that game. He had a great 21 touchdown pass to Okanoku, their tight end, who looks like he's going to be a star. It's just his turnovers were really unfortunate. He threw a pick to Tyson Campbell that set up a field goal to reduce the Titans' lead to 3. And then the big one where there's, I think, only like 3 minutes to go, he got strip sacked by Rashawn Jenkins. And then UK's Josh Allen scooped it up and scored to give the Jags a 20-16 lead. But like I said, Trevor Lawrence, even though he wasn't particularly great in that game, I don't know if he had the nerves or whatever, but just, night and day between having Peterson to Urban Meyer. His touchdowns went up by 13 this year. His INTs went down by 9, and he averaged 1 yard more per pass for the year. And it's just a combination, I think, of Doug Peterson bringing in Ingram, who looks like possibly he's going to be the Travis Kelce for him. Bringing in Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and just ETN being healthy this year. Again, I know we've said it before. They look like they're going to be the Manning Colts of the South for probably the next, 7 to 8 years.
Fun to watch. All right.
Well, I think we need to transition to playoffs because that's a natural transition. The game that excites me is the Jags versus the Chargers. What you're seeing is that sort of generational change again with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. I look forward to this game a lot.
And who do you like in that, Lugs? Who do you like, man?
Oh, I like the Jags because they got Doug Peterson as a coach. He's going against Brandon Staley, who I still don't understand why they've kept him around because he is the impediment for them. I mean, you got Justin Herbert, who is playing just lights out. And finally, they make the playoffs. Last year, there were so many stupid decisions by Brandon Staley. So, with that said, I looking forward to the Jags winning. Staley gets fired. They bring in Sean Payton, and we all sing "Kumbaya." That's my take.
That LA Chargers Kumbaya version at SoFi Stadium. How about you, T-Dog? You like, well, there's lots of games here, but that one particularly.
I think, to be fair to Lugs's point, like when you kind of look on just on paper and when you kind of think of what the matchups are, the one that should be the most enticing is the Chargers Jaguars.
Yep.
And I kind of agree with Lugs. I know obviously Herbert's been in the league a few more years, and his body of work has been better overall than Trevor Lawrence up to this point. But it is kind of weird to me that, and I know they have one more win, but it's kind of weird to me that the Chargers are favored by at least by Vegas. They're a 2-point favorite. Just because, and I know they weren't playing that game, but it cropped up against the Broncos. They allowed over 200 yards rushing, with Latavius Murray, who is obviously we're all older, but like he's not that far away from us, Latavius Murray in age.
Come on, now. Wait a minute.
ETN is Travis Etienne is a special running back, and I just worry about what the Chargers are going to do against Etienne. Actually, is my main thing, and I kind of agree with Lugs, man. I think the Jags are going to win this game.
And aren't the Jags playing with house money, guys? I mean, if the Lions had gotten in, they weren't expected to do anything, so it'd be like, let's just have fun. Jags same way, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they're at least a year ahead of schedule, maybe 2 years ahead of schedule. But Doug Peterson, you got to give him credit.
Love that guy, really. Yeah.
To come in with a man who spends his off time at a strip club.
Yep.
Yep. So it's good to have. Trevor Lawrence has to be thinking it's good to have a professional in that office right there.
Professional coach.
Yeah. So my other
yes
that I'm looking forward to is Giants at Vikings. Come on, baby.
Yeah, and let me guess which way you're going on that, Lugs.
They are going to run it down the Vikings' throat.
Yeah.
And they're going to chase old Cousins until he's not even a cousin anymore. He might be an in-law. So I'm just saying, I think the Giants are going to take that one all the way. I think Daniel Jones just realized, to hell with it, I'm going for it. And they've opened it up. Dayball has opened it up for him to run whatever. Let's just win this thing. So,
well, Giants too are playing with house money, aren't they, T-Dog? I mean, really?
Yeah, they're playing with house money, and just I think the main matchup on that one too. Again, I know I keep going back to the less sexier parts of it. It looks like Bradbury is at least practicing for the Vikings, which is important because the middle of their line has been ravaged by injuries. And when you look at the matchups, Dexter Lawrence, who I think he's listed at 340. I think he's a little heavier than that. He had
a nice Christmas, man. He had a really nice Christmas. He just carved up.
Yeah, he
those gingerbread cookies, man. They put it on you.
He's been good since he was been drafted, but in this new Wink Martindale system, like he has been more aggressive in getting into the backfield, and I just worry about the Vikings being able to stop Dexter Lawrence. I think you're going to hear his name a lot, and just it's again. I think I'm going to go with the Giants, and again, not for the reasons Lug says, not because I think Kirk Cousins is going to bust out. It's more so I don't believe in the Vikings defense. That's always been my major concern with them. I think if they do win, it's going to be because of the offense. It's not going to be because of the defense. They have some talent on their defensive line. It's just when you get to the back seven, I have questions and concerns about the Vikings. So,
well, two things that I look at. Wink Martindale, they're going to see more looks than anybody in the business. Wink is the defensive coordinator for the Giants.
Right.
So they're going to see just a total mishmash of looks, and it's going to confuse them. And plus, I'm not real happy with your boy Cousins and his decision making when he is rushed. So,
and I'm going Vikings, fellas. My wife's a native Minnesotan. I can't not go against the home team. So,
well, we understand.
It's a lock and
you know where you eat.
Right. I gotta have meatloaf on Tuesday.
Well, also the one thing I will give the Vikings is the Giants. When I kind of look at their secondary, they've had some guys who kind of stepped up, but still, I think they can be had. And that's where Justin Jefferson and having KJ Osborne, Thielen, and that's where it can show up. So that's
but Justin Jefferson, he got himself taught a little lesson by Green Bay's Jair Alexander. Hit him hard once, come across the middle, and he gets those alligator arms.
Well,
and New York looked at that.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, Jair, what's he doing this weekend, Larry? What's he doing, Jair? He's at home.
It doesn't matter.
Eating cookies.
He got his licks in when it mattered on probably one of the best receivers in the league, if not the top receiver.
Yeah.
So,
all right, T-Dog, help me out here.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm going with the Giants mainly because of Dexter Lawrence. But I think they have Minnesota favored by 3, and that one's understandable. The Chargers one I don't get. The Vikings, because they did play and they did win by 3, so I understand that. So that's all I'll say.
Let's go to the easiest game to predict. That would be Miami at Buffalo. Tua's not going to be playing again.
Yeah, that's sad.
Teddy Bridgewater has a dislocated finger. So Skylar Thompson, who I'm not sure he got a first down in that last game that they played.
Yeah.
Anyway, the betting line, the last one I saw was like 13 points, which is unheard of in the NFL. But, as I've said previously on previous episodes.
Another episode. Yes.
Yeah. If Miami can get Lamar Jackson, that would be a game. I'd pay money to go there and sit on those bad seats like they've got at IU in the football stadium. That concrete, man, it gets on your backside for a while, but I'd do it.
I don't think there's a stadium in the NFL, save Green Bay, that has bleachers anymore. Lambeau still does, but I don't think Miami, you're sitting on concrete. If it is, it's going to be warm anyway. Lamar's got a game to play this weekend. What's he doing in Miami?
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You are right, because the Vegas has the point differential being 13. And that's one of those situations where it's like, again, I'm not a betting person. I'd be like, all right, 13. All right, I'm putting money on the Bills because I think it's going to be more than that with Skylar Thompson.
I agree.
The only way the Dolphins really win this, and the other unfortunate thing in terms of injuries is Raheem Mostert injured his hand against the Jets. It sounds like he's not going to be able to play. The last few months or the last few weeks of the season, they've really up their run game because some teams have kind of figured out to some way to contain their passing attack. So they really opened it up with Mostert and Jeff Wilson in the running game. They still have Jeff Wilson. Ahmad stepped up, so they still have both those guys. Again, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to win ugly. They're going to have to ugly it up and just really smash the ball because, like Lug said, I watched the highlights of Skylar Thompson versus the Jets. And to be fair, Jets have a good defense, but good God. And like Tyreek Hill, I know he was talking up how much better Tua is. And I'm happy Tua that had success, but he was saying Tua is better than Mahomes. That's a load of crap. If he says Skylar Thompson's better than Mahomes, I'm going to be like, good God, man. This guy looked like he was under duress even when he had a clean pocket and he was throwing moonballs just 8 yards down the field. They're like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, and I'm going to go one further. I'm going to say Josh Allen won't even play the fourth quarter. They won't need him. So it'll be a whitewash. I think we're all in agreement on that one. All right, let me hit you boys up with the rest of the game. Seattle, San Francisco. How do you like that one?
Well, I'm going to go with the Purdy boy. You got to. as far as I'm concerned, because I just don't have any faith in Geno Smith. I'm sorry. I wish him the best, and I'm glad that he's doing well. But I'm going to go San Francisco. I mean, it'll be close, I would say, but I still got to go with San Francisco.
T-Dog, another double-digit point spread on this one.
Yeah, and I understand, and obviously he's now more polished at this point, so I can understand why the spread. But you do have to realize, I believe the last time they played, 49ers won 21-13. And obviously Pete Carroll has coached against Kyle Shanahan multiple years. He kind of understands how that offense works. Now, to be fair, when we're talking about X's and O's right now. When we talk about Jimmy's and Joe's, that's where Seahawks run into a problem. Like 49ers are just so strapped with talent.
Oh, yeah.
Again, McCaffrey, I believe they are now 10-1 since they made the trade for Christian McCaffrey, and I believe he's averaging over 100 yards from the line of scrimmage, passing or receiving and rushing. He's had over 10 touchdowns, I believe, for the. And then, this last game, week 18, they didn't really play a whole lot. But, to get Elijah Mitchell back, who had 50 yards off 5 carries and 2 touchdowns, to get, Deebo Samuel back, who, they didn't really use a lot, but, he got out there, kicked off a little rust, to add to Ayuk, to add to George Kittle, who, again, you go back to his history at Iowa State. He mainly threw to tight ends, and man, is that working out well for Kittle. Kittle has, I believe, 7 touchdowns in the last 6, or actually, let me see. He has, let me see here. He has 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games, George Kittle. So
crazy.
And then you look at that defense, besides whatever happened with Jarrett Stidham, Donovan Mitchell got tested for drugs after he scored 71 points. Jarrett Stidham, after carving up the 49ers week 17, he should have been tested for drugs, because besides that anomaly, this 49ers team has just been running roughshod over people once they got fully healthy. So yeah, it's like I said, the only reason I give Seahawks a point is, again, Jarrett Stidham. They showed weaknesses against wide receivers, and DK Metcalf can play. Tyler Lockett can play. Geno has thrown some of the best balls consistently, not Zach Wilson, who does it every 100 or 90 throws.
Yes,
consistently
sir.
has at least usually 2 to 3 spectacular throws a game. But I'm with Lugs. I think this is going to be one comfortably.
Big jailbreak, basically. They're peaking at the right time, the Niners, and they've got way too many tools in the tool shed. So I think we all agree on that one. Okay, let's go with the next one. Let's see, what did I miss here? How about the Cowboys and the let's go Raven Bengals first. Cowboys Buccaneers is Monday night. Ravens Bengals. The Lugs. There's your Lamar question right there.
If Lamar plays, I think they have a shot. Otherwise, forget about it. The Bengals are just overpowering at this point. And even if Lamar plays, he hadn't practiced in a long time. He's not played in a long time. I think
5 weeks?
Honestly,
has it been 5 or 6 weeks?
Probably at least since before Christmas, right?
I think it's been 6.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that Lamar will take another snap as a Baltimore Raven. But given all that, since he'll win by at least a touchdown, I would think.
What about you, T-Dog? What do you say about the Bengals and our boy Joe Burrow? We're part of the fan club. We started it back in 2019. Mark the tape, copyright 2019. Go.
Well, you know what? That bandwagon, we're going to have to put some extra wheels on it, because it's getting ready to break based on how many people are jumping on. Because let's be honest, besides Patrick Mahomes, or Jalen Hurts, it's a Burrow for MVP.
Yeah.
But I just think the one thing I worry about for the Bengals is they lost Alex Kappa in that game, their left guard, who they paid a decent amount of money to in the offseason, who really helped solidify that line. And a while back, they lost Leo Collins, their right tackle, to ACL. So you do worry about them entering the postseason like last postseason, where they have some possible big problem spots on their offensive line, and there's a decent amount of talent on that Ravens defense, so they could do a lot. But to be fair, the reason why I'm going with the Bengals is if you looked at that, I get that they didn't want to really show anything against the Bengals, but it was really telling that they rested and made inactive Tyler Huntley for that Week 18 game. It kind of tells me, trying to read too much in the tea leaves, and I'm not saying I'm wrong on this, Lamar is not going to play in this game. They would. I don't think they'd rest Tyler Huntley if they really felt confident that Lamar was playing. So Lamar will be out. He hasn't played since December 4th. He got injured in the Denver game. So if it's Tyler Huntley versus Joe Burrow, right. I mean, I'm not going to go against Joe Burrow. So it really just comes down to that for me. I think they're favored by a little over a touchdown, which is completely understandable. And I think the one thing you can really say about the Bengals is this. I think they're playing as the most complete team. Obviously, the passing attack's working, the running attack's working. They stop the run, and they're very, very good about neutralizing the pass. And they generated, I know it was their third string quarterback, but they got 2 INTs, and they were able to get a critical forced fumble late in the game where it looked like Ravens were trying to make a game of it. So they're always going to be making plays.
Yeah, and their special teams have shown up several times for them this year.
And as a fan, I'm bummed out. We're not going to see Lamar. I worry about these running quarterbacks. Look at Justin Fields missing several games this year. We don't even need to talk about RG3's career, Robert Griffin III. So whatever Lamar happens to him, as a fan, a viewer, we're getting kind of ripped off because we don't get to see the man in his prime as an athlete in a playoff game under the bright lights in a great matchup. So if he can play great, but we know he won't be himself. So I'm with you boys on the Bengals. All right, Monday night, ESPN ABC has to have a game now with the new contract. So we have the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, and I find this one fascinating. T-Dog, what do you think? Tom Brady or not?
This is one of those ones where I just get so mad. I get so mad at this game. And even though I've never been...
Why do you get mad at it? What do you mean?
Again, I'm not the biggest... I know historically maybe I've not been the biggest Cowboys fan. It has nothing to do with the players. I like a lot of players on this team and past teams. It's more to do with Jerry Jones and stuff. But I am rooting for the Cowboys because particularly to this year, the anger and frustration I've had with this Buccaneers team, I just want them gone. The unfortunate thing is I look on paper, this matchup, you look at against Washington, the Week 18, and I know they weren't quote unquote playing for anything, but Dak was bad, and he's been fairly good since he came back from injury. But Dak I think he completed 37% of his passes. That pick 6 to Kendall Fuller was just a bad throw. I mean, you can't put it on anything. That was a bad throw, and just they've had some injuries because they had to move some pieces on their offensive line. You look at that D line and that front 7 for Buccaneers, that's a problem. And then outside of Diggs, their corner, their secondary can be had. And you look at Chris Godwin, you look at Mike Evans, you look at Russell Gage. That's a problem with Tom Brady. So I hate saying that this Cowboys team that was much better for the year than this Buccaneers team is probably going to be gone after this weekend. But I think the Buccaneers win.
Lugs, your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree. And, let's just be honest. I've never made any bones about it. I despise Dallas. I just do. It's just one of those things. It's ingrained in my soul.
It's in your craw.
Anytime I see Jerry Jones, I just go, buy yourself a decent rug, old guy. Come on. But anyway.
A rug. Yeah, got it.
With Tom Brady, the offensive line is playing better. They're getting healthier. If he has any time at all, they can move the ball. Defensively, I think they will get to Dak. I do. I think Myles Garrett will be able to get where he needs to go. Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball for Dallas. He should have himself a decent game because the guy he's going against, I've forgotten his name, but he is ranked 44th amongst offensive lineman. So, it's one of those things. But Dallas has a way of just not showing up when it counts. I don't understand with all of that talent, and they do have talent. Judy, I mean, it's crazy the amount of offensive talent not to, and even with Zeke and Pollard, they should be just hammering, and they're not doing it. I don't get it.
Well, the last few weeks is because Pollard's been healthy. So obviously, I think for the Cowboys to win, because just you look at how much talent's in that front seven of the Buccaneers. I think running, like I guess, at the line, if you do like a little screen passes to Pollard, and I think bizarrely enough, and here's another guy who was just brought on for Cowboys. I think if the Cowboys win, I think T.Y. will have like 70 yards at least receiving, maybe a touchdown. I think T.Y. Hilton will come through because I think if you look at a lot of the other receivers, I'm not saying that they just have CeeDee Lamb, but outside of CeeDee Lamb, I don't think anyone's consistently stepped up. I mean, Brown's good. Gallup has had moments, but they need someone else to step up because I think Buccaneers quickly.
I said Jerry Jeudy. I meant CeeDee. But
no, it's all right. But yeah, I think they're going to neutralize him very quickly. So, like, you're going to have someone else step up. I don't know. Maybe it's Schultz. Maybe it's Hendershot, one of their other tight ends. But I think it's going to be – I'm going to guess X factors. The main one should be Pollard just because he's possibly their most unique weapon. But maybe like a guy like T.Y. who gave them life against the Eagles. So.
And I think
T.Y., that was one catch that was $1 million that they paid for. So that was an interesting moment there. It was cool.
I think what I heard this week, I think Phil Simms said, okay, in a clutch game, Aaron Rodgers, as he folded this week, will not come through. But would you have Roger Staubach? Yes. Terry Bradshaw, yes. Tom Brady, yes. I think Tom Brady in the clutch, if he gets his protection, can get the ball out quick. How do you stop that guy? Still got a strong arm, still accurate. I think they win easily. And Jerry Jones will go.
And Brady is just smart and prepared. Yeah. I mean, he will watch film after film. That was another thing about Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't watch film. They just admitted it.
He didn't play in the preseason. Excellent.
Some could say he hadn't played all season long, really, but that's another matter.
To be fair, he has to get all his notes in order for his Pat McAfee B-Fest on Tuesdays or whatever. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he had to get his chakra lined up.
So $50 million, man, Green Bay, and we'll see what happens on that. Okay, so how about we do this? A little sports of yesteryear and come back, do a little more catching up on coaches, draft picks, things like that. How's that sound?
Cool.
All right, here we go. Big open. This is the sports of yesteryear. Famous open with Lugs. He's out and about in his Cougar. It's a Cougar XR7 that he picked up on the lot at Bill Ryan Auto Sales. Come on in, Lugs.
All right. 1915, Jacob Rupert and Colonel Tillinghast Houston purchased the New York Yankees for $460,000. Rupert, by the way, paid his portion in cash. 1953, this is a strange one. J. Edgar Hoover declines a six-figure deal to become president of the International Boxing Club. I don't get it, but hey, he did have that flat nose, so he may have had some boxing matches in his time. Okay, now we will get back to 1970. Super Bowl IV, Tulane Stadium. Chiefs beat the Vikings 23-7. MVP Lynn Dawson, the Kansas City quarterback. Old Lynn Dawson, who 2 nights later had to go and do the sportscast on the TV
Channel
station
5,
there.
Right. Yeah.
True story. 1987 NFC Championship, Giant Stadium. East Rutherford, New York Giants beat the Washington, then Redskins 17-0. That was putting a whamming on them. 2001. This is a strange one. We don't often get into NBA, but I had to get with this one. New York Knicks hold an opponent under 100 points for an NBA record 29th straight game and still lose to the Houston Rockets 76-75. It's crazy. 2016 College Football National Championship. Alabama beats number 1 Clemson 45-40, one of the great games of all time. And that, my friends, is sports of yesteryear.
Thank you, Lugs, for that insightful report. Okay, who paid cash for what? The guy paid cash for a protein? What was that?
1915. That would have been Jacob Rupert. He and Tillinghast, Houston, they bought the Yankees for essentially $500,000, and he paid his portion in cash. Rupert did.
Dang, that's nice. Walking around money for that guy. Okay, coach is firing.
I assume so.
Black, go ahead, T-Dog. What?
I was gonna say, so go back to your thing. Did Len Donson, when he interviewed himself, did he cross cut?
Well, he had to interview himself. He would sit on the set, then run over to another position to answer the question, and then come back. But it is true. After some games, I mean, he was the sportscaster for one of the TV stations there in Kansas City. And after games, he would go do a sportscast. It just, yeah.
We
That
just
was
lost
1970,
Len.
and Lynn was probably making, let's say, $22,000 maybe to play quarterback.
And probably the highest paid player at the time. We just lost Len Dawson last year, didn't we? I think in 2021 or 2022. All right, fellas, let's talk about coaches. Black Monday has come and gone, and there were already 3 piled on the fire before the season ended. But on Black Monday, Cliff Kingsbury, with less than 1 year after inking a long-term contract, was canned. And Lovie Smith, after winning the last game of the season and not getting the Texans the number 1 draft pick. Was that Lovie using the middle finger, fellas, to say, Houston, I'm out of here, and you will not get that draft pick, or what happened there?
Who knows? But I always, tanking, I have a problem with in that I don't think professional football players or professional athletes of any sort would tank on their own. Now, a coach or a general manager can say, we're not playing this guy and this guy, and they can manipulate that. But, I'm sorry to see old Lovey go. That was a fine white beard right there.
Yes, sir.
I just tell you, it was something special to look at. So, but as far as looking down the line here, that Arizona job, that's going to be tough to fill. Because the way I look at that is Kyler Murray won that round. He got rid of Kingsbury. Whoever they bring in next, he's not going to win that round.
Watch out.
Because I give Kyler Murray 3 years more in the league max. Somebody's just going to put the whack on him, and, he can go back to playing video games with his brothers or whomever. So,
with his brothers.
Okay.
And T-Dog, your thoughts on, let's start with Lovie Smith. Canned after, everybody says, they were really close in a lot of games, the Houston Texans, and came up short, of course. And Lovie came in a really bad situation and did his best.
Well, I'll start with the overview, and then I'll go to the game. I'll go macro first. With the firing of Lovie Smith, whoever takes on this job, this will be the 4th head coach in 4 years for the Houston Texans. So, I saw that they're going to interview Sean Payton. I feel fairly confident. I don't think he's going to take that job.
Nope.
Who
would take that
job? So,
no one would take that job.
Well, and that's the thing.
They're liars, aren't they? They've been lying.
And again, they're probably going to get a quarterback, but obviously Pierce played well. Their running back Stingley, their corner they took at the top of the draft. He was one of the huge bright spots. Nico Collins, I think, can be a very good wide receiver. Jordan Atkins, obviously the game he had, but I think he's older. But you look at this team, I believe this is year 3 or 4 for Sirianni. They don't have a lot of talent. So it's what am I getting into? Yeah. And I know they got some draft picks for Deshaun. Well, they need them because there's not a lot of talent on this team. I guess to get the Lovey, the thing I like about it was Bears obviously they did the right thing in terms of tanking. They just stripped all the talent. That's how
True.
you do it.
True.
I think I still believe in Eberflus. I believe in Luke Getzey.
Yeah.
I believe in Williams. I think they have a good coaching staff. That being said, to remove Roquan Smith, who just got paid a lot of money by the Ravens, to trade away Mac, to trade away Quinn, like they didn't say they were tanking, but those actions speak louder words. That's what they were doing. But they did their job, and they lost to the Vikings, where they lost by 16, but it felt like a lot more. But anyway, for the Texans to win that game on their last drive,
Right.
the Texans overcame a 4th and 12, where somehow Davis Mills threw it to Brandon Cooks and converted.
Davis Mills. Yes.
Then they got into a 4th and 20, and on that play on the 4th and 20, Davis Mills threw a moonshot over top of the safety Rodney Thomas, who I think has had a good year. So I'm not going to really clown on him, but like he mistimed his jump bad, and Jordan Atkins came down with his second touchdown, and then for whatever reason they were down by 1. They decided to go for 2. They said, screw it. That's the Lovey giving the middle finger to them. It was like, screw it, let's go for 2.
Yep, he did.
And they converted. And, shockingly, Sam Ellinger can't do like a long drive because he's not a starting quarterback at the NFL level. And that's how the Bears got the number 1 pick.
Lovey gives them the ultimate one-finger salute. I got one guy. One guy's going to take the Houston Texans job. We talked about him before, way back when. I think we called it Josh McCown. Write it down. Mark the tape. Don't you think? They'll pull him off the high school field. He's in.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I've heard this. I'm not originating this.
No, he's been. I don't know who in the McNair family is smitten with him, but there is a real possibility.
He's a good-looking kid, and he's about 40 now. He'll wear a good. Track suit on the sidelines. Got a good haircut. Lugs, you'd like that. I mean, he's one of those guys.
Okay.
He's one of those guys. He's a guy, square jaw. Looks like
Honestly, it will have to be somebody like that, because any coach of repute is not going to go to Texas.
No,
not for this.
They screwed over David Culley, and then they do the same to Lovey. Both one-year guys. Both did pretty well with what they had, and they lied to both of those guys, right?
Oh, yeah. That's just as nutty as Irsay at the Colts. I mean, you've got some really whack jobs on in teams.
Was speaking of good-looking coaches, even though I know some people think it's why I've been harsh on them. Cliff Kingsbury, to be fair to him on this, before this year, each year that team got better. They were 5-10,
True.
8-8, 11-6. So he had them going in the right direction.
Yep.
And then shockingly, Kyler Murray got injured, which, again, this has been my biggest problem with Kyler Murray. I'm sure there's other issues, but the main thing is he can't stay healthy, which is a big issue.
Yep.
And, I think it started with the very start of the show with the Cliff Kingsbury hire. I still don't really believe in Cliff Kingsbury as a coach. I think more favorably than I did before. I'm not saying it's gone over the top, that I'm gonna give the man a warm embrace. I still think, but I think he at least was trying to get the team going in the right direction. And you look at also Steve Keim, the long-term GM of the team, he stepped down too.
He did.
So, and to be fair to what we're talking about, who wants to inherit this team? Because you look at outside of Kyler Murray, who obviously got injured severely late in the year, like he's probably going to start on the pup, and that's probably being
absolutely
favorable. Like he's probably going to miss half the season.
Till at least November, they say.
Yeah. So, okay. So he's going to miss most of the season.
Yeah.
Then look at the rest of the team outside of like Isaiah Simmons and like Buda Baker. A lot of their quote unquote talent, and they do have talent spots, but like it's mostly older players. So like it's it's not a good roster.
And what happened to DeAndre Hopkins?
Well, DeAndre Hopkins, he got injured. He missed the last 2 games. They're looking to trade him, and obviously a contender will want him, but like they're not going to get a lot of trade back. They'll maybe get a 3rd round pick, which could be good. But I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is like 30. They're not going to get like a huge. They're not going to get a 2nd or 1st round pick for DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
I'm just saying that right now.
We're way deep into the show, 50 minutes past the hour, 37 degrees on the outside. But I want to end with this question. The Bears have the number 1 pick, and the first time they've had it since 1947. The last time, by the way, they had it, they were tied with the Steelers. They flipped a coin in 1970, and the Steelers got Terry Bradshaw. Let's just say the Bears did not. So, fellas, the Bears, with that number 1 pick, keep it, get somebody, trade it away, get more picks. Lugs. Which way?
If you can get more picks for it, they should, because they need everything. They need receivers. They need tight ends. They need an offensive line. They could, stand to get themselves a defensive line, some defensive. I mean, they need everything. I think Justin Fields is going to get wasted by this team.
Is he the guy, though? Is he the guy for them?
Well,
that's the big question.
He could be, but you got to let that kid mature. You've got to put some pieces around him. I mean, other than Montgomery, there's no running. There's just no offense at all. And I don't have faith in Chicago. I have told you boys before, 5 years before they're relevant. I'm sorry. They have no sense of offense. They're back playing in the 50s and still hanging on to that one win there in 85. They're living off of that. Well, that's 40 years ago.
All right, I'm going to cut your mic off. T-Dog, go ahead, man. What do you think? Keep the draft pick, trade the draft pick, Fields. A couple of questions there. Go.
Trade the draft pick. That's why they wanted it in the first place. Look, again, he didn't come out and say it. Obviously, he was very coy about it, but Poles said he'd have to be overwhelmed with a quarterback for them to draft a quarterback, which he left the door open, but I don't buy it. He's just doing that to try to maybe get people. Because here's the picks behind him. Houston Texans need a quarterback. Obviously, Arizona, whoever inherits that job might not want Kyler Murray.
True.
They might take a quarterback. Colts are 4th quarterback. Obviously, to be fair to Lugs, maybe they don't really believe in the Seahawks long term, so they'll go a quarterback. Obviously, Jared Goff had a great season, for the Lions, but is he their long term quarterback? I don't know. They picked 6th. Obviously, Vegas getting rid of Carr, so maybe they go quarterback. Atlanta definitely is probably going quarterback. Carolina needs a quarterback.
All right,
that's what I'm saying.
Out there.
So 2 through 9 need a quarterback. Who has the first pick? They're trading down, and they may be trading down twice to get a windfall of picks. Wow. They also have $130 million in cap space.
Right.
And the thing I'll throw back at Lugs in terms of taking 5 years. First off, this is year 2 out of a rebuilding project. And again, you look at like turnarounds. Jags had the first pick 2 years ago. They're in the playoffs. Albeit it's 9-8, but
they got a coach. I don't like Eberflus. I don't like anybody on the offensive side of their ball. I don't.
You just don't like his name, dude.
Here's the inverse. I will say of. I'm not saying the Bears are this far away from being the Vikings. The Bears were 1-7 in one score games.
Right.
That there is positive regression. They're going to win more games next year. And the talent's going to be there. And look, I know for Fields, we want wide receivers. And they are important in value. But hopefully with a lot of this draft capital, they build up the O-line. They build up the D-line. Maybe year 3 of this rebuild, they really go after wide receivers, or they get someone of decent value in free agency. They use the draft capital, hopefully, to build those lines. That's the main thing they need to focus on. Then next year, build out on those skills. Those are the main things to worry about. So,
Fellas, we've kind of capped it out here. I think we're out of time on this one. 54 minutes on the program this week. Something new this week, a sponsor, Rudy's Furniture Mart. After decades of selling quality furniture, they're going out of business and liquidating. And our guy is there tonight. We know him. What's his name, that guy?
Fish. And since this is Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, it's his birthday this week. He was born in 1755 or 1757, depending on who you ask. Fish's host, he was originally going to do a singing contest for Hamilton, but he realized nobody knows all the words to any of the songs in that thing, so he's hosting a Lin-Manuel Miranda look-alike contest. So come on down, 1 p.m. Saturday, strut your stuff as Lin-Manuel Miranda. First 10 performers will get a copy of Hamilton performed by the Walter Payton College Preparatory High School drama class. See you there.
All right. We are the Sport Weasels. First in sound, first in service, and first in other stuff. And this show will be self-destructing in 10 seconds. So long, everybody. Have a good week.